Good evening. I'm going to talk to you really quick. I hope, as always, I say that, but I hope you're doing well today. And I pray that this message will touch your heart because this is one that everybody deals with. We sign that old package every day almost. I mean, even in the smallest way. And when I say quit signing the old packages, what I'm talking about is offense. We sign them packages every day before we even peek and understand where they're coming from. We don't even ask no question. They just come up, roll up to our door from UPS, or the mail person comes up and say they got a special package for us. And they knock on the door and ring the bell. Don't mean that you have to take the package. But a lot of times we'll just take the package. We don't even understand what's going on or what happened. And just because, like I said, they ring the doorbell, doesn't mean you have to sign for it. You can't stop them from coming. You can't stop them from ringing the doorbell. But when you open that door, see, that's the key. You've got the opportunity to reject it or accept it. But when you open that door, which is opening your spirit up to what situation is, and you accept that offense package, this is the same way we do every time we take a little dispute or a little spat with someone that we care about. And that says that you've hurt me. You've offended me. And when we can choose whether to sign for that package or allow it to control our lives, this is the question we need to be asking ourselves. This is the part that changed the whole course of our lives once we sign that old package. One of the things that I've learned over the years with forgiveness, I literally pray for forgiveness. I ask the Lord every night and every day, Father, help me to love them the way you love them. Help me see them through your eyes, God. It took me 15 years walking around in unforgiveness after my children's father took that 12-gauge shotgun and blew out my face. I use that always as an analogy to let people understand that, if I had kept on holding that, not just offense, but I was not only offended by him and things that he said to me and the way he treated me, but to be physically damaged as well. I thought about Jesus on the cross as I went through those 15 years of unforgiveness. And I realized that what was actually going on is everything that I heard, everything that I thought about, that job of offense was to get me to close my ears of forgiveness to the way God wanted to rectify the situation in my life. That stopped me from drinking the alcohol. That stopped me from chasing men and in and out of clubs and then going to church on Sunday half drunk. Oh, I know I'm talking to somebody getting up in the choir singing with a hangover. But we live these lives of bitterness and unforgiveness, and we try to push them down with drugs and alcohol and doing things and being promiscuous and fighting each other and getting divorced and separating and all this crazy stuff because we've been offended. And we never talk this thing out. We just are held bondage. And I thank God for the spirit of forgiveness that he's given me in my heart. And I know it's the gift of love. I tell people all the time, just because I love you and you've offended me don't mean I have to have dinner with you. I can love you with a long house phone. Because see, these hours, we got to know how to love people the way Jesus loves us. He'll love the hell out of us. What he does is, if you want to stay in your mess, because he knows you're going to do it before you even done it. But what happens is that he will give you the opportunity to grow. And so that's why it hurts so bad. That's why it lasts so long, because we choose to sign the old packages. But what you really mean is that you're trying to protect your prison hater. You're trying to protect your prison offense, because you put yourself in prison is what I'm trying to say. You will hold your own self captive because you refuse to get along with God and say, Father, help me to forgive them. Help me. They've offended me. And when you're offended, what happens is you think about every word they spoke, everything they see, everything you see is through what? Those lenses of the hurt and the offense that they said and they've done. True. I look in the mirror every day and I think about, look how he hurt me, how he scarred my face. But the spirit of offense chokes out your ability to give people what? The benefit of the doubt. To give people the opportunity to say that we're all imperfect people. We're all on this earth sinning every day. And without God, we are nothing and can do nothing. See, what this does, we have to depend on the simple way to love people. And that means love them where they at, express sincerity, and most importantly, don't just assume the worst. You got to ignore those things that sometimes come in your mind to make you want to be so, reactive. This is a common way the enemy has done over the years to try to make us distrust and say things back in the same way that it was done to us, or do the same thing, that is. But offense is quite possible. But the thing is, the reason why it's going to always be possible, because people don't agree. It's totally impossible for us to agree on everything. But when it is nourished, when it is dealt with, this causes the people who was once offended to look at the thing in a different light, to see if they can say, I'm going to take my responsibility and acknowledge that I've offended you and I want to deal with the thing. But most of the time, people will sign the old package and slam the door. That means I'm not dealing with it. I'm not going to even look at it. I already know it's offense, and get out of my face, stay out of my life. But in the same way, we cannot stop people from doing what they're doing. We can't stop people from saying what they're saying, but we can choose to share our hearts and our minds from those situations. See, when we can change our ways, when we can change our hearts, when you change church because you are offended, or when you go to a different way, you don't want to go to the party or the celebration because that person's going to be there, when you leave your job because you don't like what someone said, or you've allowed offense to rob you of a job because you don't like the way that the people that you was connected with that are going to be working there. But most of the time, family members, people that are close to us, those are the ones that really rub us the hardest. Those are the ones that hurt us the most. And remember, Psalm 55 said in verse 12 to 14, when David went through that, he said, it's not an enemy who taunt me, I could bear it. It is not a foe who was arrogantly insulted to me, I could have hidden from them. Instead, it was you, my equal, my companion, my close friend. What good fellowship we once enjoyed as we walked together to the house of the Lord. What he's saying is that it wasn't a stranger, it was you. It was my friend, my buddy, my bro, my sister girlfriend. See, I believe that we get so upset at certain things in our friends or our family members. Why? Because we have great expectation. We expect them to be a certain way. We expect them to do things a certain way that we want because we're so close to them. But you keep forgetting they have rights too. And see, what happens is that we assume that these people who are around us, or who serve us, or who are relatives of ours, or even relationships of husbands and wives, we believe that everything that they do or that they are doing, we have a right to know. We have a right to expect it differently in our own eyes. But you got to know that we do not have that authority. Only God has that authority to work that way, that seed out of that person. See, when people are in close relationship, it doesn't matter what they're going through, or it doesn't matter what the knowledge is, it doesn't matter where they've been. The most important part is they try hard, those who are offended, to measure up to our expectations, or vice versa. It tends to be deeper in our hearts, or hurts when it's somebody close to us. This is why you see so many relatives who have spoken against you or spoken against family members over the years. The offense seems to continue on and on and on, and nobody tends to try to get it to sever down or get the breach of the blood of Jesus in between the breach so God can heal it. But the most important part about this whole thing is we got to remember that we are all frail. We are all going to say or do something to offend someone. And we got to know that we don't have to sign the package. We can tell the devil to go back. I choose to process this. I choose to wait for God to show me the right timing and the right way to approach that person, or my family member, or my husband, or my wife, about how they've offended me, about what has hurt me. And then you got to always embrace Galatians chapter 6. I believe this is one of the chapters that helped me to remind myself once I realized, my children's father, when he tried to kill me, that he too was a victim of his own offenses, of his own childhood hurts, or, the things that troubled him in his mind. And Galatians chapter 6 begins out saying, brethren, if a man be overtaken in a thought, that means a wrongdoing, ye which are spiritual, that means we which are the body, restore such an one in the spirit of meekness, considering thyself, lest thou also be tempted. Bear ye one another's burden, and so fulfill the law of Christ. For if a man think himself to be something, when he is nothing, he deceives himself. But let every man prove his own work, and then shall he have rejoicing in himself alone, and not in another. For every man shall bear his own burden. Let him that is taught in the word communicate unto him that teacheth in all good things. Be not deceived. God is not mocked, for whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. But he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption. But he that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting. And you know what? It's just a matter of time. That's why we have to pray, so God can give us the right timing to say, I want you to look at the package now. You wouldn't look at it. You refused to sign it, and that was good. And so now you didn't sign it. I'm showing you something in it, in other words, inside of you, that needs to be healed, that needs to be dealt with. Because first, it's all about us. Like the scripture said in verse 3 of chapter 6 of Galatians. It says, for if a man think himself to be something, when he is nothing, he deceiveth himself. And you need to know that even though you may have signed a whole bunch of offense packages, you don't have to be weary, because God is going to take care of that. Because why? You are waiting for him to show you what's inside of you and what's inside that other person so that you can heal. And finally, the last part of this Galatians chapter 6 that I want to share with you in verse 9, it says, and let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. Okay, you don't have to sign for the offense packages, but you do have to realize that we need each other and that forgiveness is going to always be the healing balm. And you don't want to not sign the package, but you don't want to make sure, you do want to make sure that just because you didn't sign it, that does not release you to forgive. It's up to you.